Dude, that tasting that we did the other night was so fantastic. I'm glad we got to drink another one of these because I was thinking about it the other day. I just love bubbles more and more and more, especially sparkling wine, Prosecco, champagne.
The Valdo tasting?
The Valdo tasting was fantastic. Like the whole night was just great, but these Proseccos were absolutely amazing.
Yeah, you can move the mic and get it all nice and close to you, and like it should be able to like lean forward if you need it, and we got pretty good arms.
You guys know that I'm a low talker and a throat clearer.
Does it go?
Yeah, we had a couple people that are kind of low talkers. We had one guest that said like every third word, so
Well, you know, like
That was a tough editing one.
yeah, it was like kind of difficult.
It was really like, like one of those things where it was like hard.
So
Love that person too.
what was that like?
and
It wasn't very likable sometimes.
I didn't like it at all. So Prosecco, I really like Prosecco.
I really like Prosecco.
The one problem right now that America's having with Prosecco is shitty Prosecco flooding the markets. There is a lot of shitty Prosecco right now in America.
For sure.
It really kills me. It does. I mean, so many people are like, oh, no, it's too sweet. I really don't like it. And I'm like, no, you just haven't had the good ones. And there's only a certain ways to actually guide people down the good ones. You know that if you're buying Barolo or you're buying, say, maybe you like Chianti, but you know what? Then you have Chianti Classico. Then you got Chianti Grand Selezione. There's levels. And if you buy a Grand Selezione, you're going to get a good one. Like, there's not going to be a crappy one out there. But when it comes to Prosecco, even though it's a DOCG or DOC maybe,
There's a lot of it. It's inherent, unfortunately, with Prosecco to speak negatively of Prosecco.
the market's just getting flooded because of the popularity.
I would like to speak only positively to everybody.
Yeah, get that little. Yeah, speak towards it.
Oh, what I'm saying.
But when you see the turquoise label, and it's $8 a bottle, and it's okay to drink it with orange juice, that is what it is.
Totally.
It's not necessarily wine, but it is what it is, and that's a giant animal.
Well, I mean, it's probably similar to the same thing of like really inexpensive beers. Like if you're a craft beer lover and you have some really cool craft beer stuff out there, it's going to be awesome. But then like you see Bud Light or Coors Light or something, you go, well, I mean, it's beer, but it's not what we expect. It'd be like if, let's just say for some weird reason, Europe never had any American beer and the first thing that came into the market was Bud Light. They'd be like, really? This is what you make in America? This sucks versus, all the great stuff that's out there right now. Chianti's a good example of that. The wicker basket bottle.
Well, you got Josh, which is a mass-produced wine in here in America. There's advertisements all over, but they're now in the Prosecco market, and
I just saw that on television.
It's their
What?
It's their number one
Or on
SKU
Netflix.
now.
I guess I don't have
They are
regular television. But
It's taking over all their other SKUs. I mean,
So they went to Italy, got a label done for them to have
yes,
Prosecco?
they're working actually with some small producers. I haven't had the product. I can't comment on the quality of it or what they're doing. But because of the popularity...
I haven't either, but I can comment on it.
Well, I mean, I guess we're gonna anyways.
You drive Lamborghinis and Ferraris all day, you can look at a Hyundai and be like, you know what? That's not what we have.
Well, the Italian market is really great at capitalizing on trends and jumping and almost over-capitalizing in a way. They say, oh, Chianti's big in America, and all of a sudden now they just ship every piece of Chianti they can to America, whether it's good or bad or indifferent. And they had to put laws in place to make the wine better. Right now, Prosecco's one of the fastest growing sparkling products growing in America. It's growing faster than champagne. It's growing faster than cava. It's growing faster than domestic, whatever they call it here.
Sparkling
wine.
Right. Yeah.
Well, price helps too.
That's the other thing. But like Sean said, having a product you're having with orange juice, you're having mimosas, Prosecco's perfect for that.
Yeah.
Well, I talked to a friend earlier today who was vehement about, oh, cool, Prosecco. This is amazing. Oh, thanks for the bottle. It'll save me a trip to the store this Sunday when I go and buy a bottle of orange juice and a bottle of Prosecco. Valdo, we had the other night, it's a different animal. It's a completely different animal. I mean, it literally is the family that started.
Make sure everybody sees what we're drinking.
Good.
So
This is, I've been lucky because he poured me some Prosecco back at the house. Although I guess, was that Prosecco or single vineyard Moscato?
No, we had Proseccos. I mean, we had
Is that
some of
the single vineyard stuff?
Yes, from Cartite Vineyard
Yeah,
and Crede Vineyard.
Yeah, man, that's I remember having those and thinking to myself, wow, that's really, really, really good. Because I had the turquoise bottle, and what's the orange one that kind of looks like Veuve Clicquot, but it's the Prosecco. It's like the $7 one, same label, and it's sweet, it's bad, it's whatever because with an M. When he poured this last night, I sat there for a good 10 minutes. I didn't even take a drink from it at first because I couldn't believe how great it smelled. And it was blown away. Like I really was like, I'm drinking a high-end champagne basically. It's at nowhere near the cost of it.
But then that's the difficulty of the over 1 million wines that we are fortunate to be able to sell across this United States. These United States, like, what is it that makes this wine better than any other Prosecco or in whatever? How to extrapolate what makes Prosecco amazing? That's the challenge. Like, this is amazing because it's true. This is the grape. This is the grape Glera. This is what Glera tastes like. This is true Glera. There's minimal to no residual sugar. Glera, to me, has this like unctuousness, like almost there's like a mushroom characteristic to it, but not in a negative characteristic.
So what is
like
unctuous?
I like that word.
Like
Pent up.
I just say it because, I mean, there's people that are probably going to be listening. They're like, I've never heard that word before. They're Googling it.
yeah,
How do you even spell it? UN?
yeah, UNX.
Done.
Go from there.
Hashtag UNX. That's going to be a weird one for a while.
UNX.
That's awesome.
Not unlike how we spelled Gloria last time.
We're going to do that with
We're all-
Galera tonight.
Yeah, exactly. GLERA. Glera.
So, Valdo, you were saying the other night was
we're having fun, right?
the
love it.
most sold Prosecco in all of Italy,
Yeah, well,
or like the
because
iconic one.
Valdo is the most sold, the number one selling Prosecco in Italy across the board. Not because of any sort of marketing or the Budweiser of Prosecco of Italy or anything like that. That is what the grape Glera tastes like. When you drink Glera, that's what it tastes like. It is, Jonathan, to your point, I mean, like, it's so effervescent. You can sit and smell it for a few minutes. And
Yeah, I mean, when it was given to me, it was one of those. I've had some Proseccos where even with the sparkling wine, like kicking off all the effervescence, some are just muted down and dumbed down. Like the what's the first label of this called? The other one we had.
Brut? Just the regular, yeah, we
Just the
call
regular?
it just DOC, the Brut DOC.
So it was great. The nose was more like full, but yet there wasn't a ton to it at first. This thing, the second I smelled it, it hit me with the freshest peaches and like citrus flavor. And I was just like, oh my God, like actually this has a potent nose to it. Like you can hold it a good like couple inches from your face. And and the one thing I love about it was a fresh nose. I don't like that bready, yeasty characteristic some champagnes get, like the toastiness. That's why I like Prosecco more. I like the raciness of it, the freshness, the fruitiness that kind of comes out. Or in some cases, you get a crazy one. It's just straight minerality to it.
So, but they also cheat kind of, because I always tell people, if you're going to buy the best Proseccos in the world, you buy them from Valdobbiadene, which is where the best Prosecco comes from. And then they name the wine Valdo. So it kind of makes it easy on the American public, or makes
I didn't
it
even
easy.
realize that.
One would
Now that I
think,
see that.
Yeah.
Valdobbiadene.
Yeah.
But Valdo's only been in the U.S. since like 2009. So who you guys met, my buddy Matteo Bola.
Shout out to
The other
Mateo.
night.
Cool dude.
Really cool dude.
Yeah, he was. He was awesome.
Fantastic DJ. Amazing dude.
I listened to his Burning Man thing. It was pretty good.
You did? Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And he'll be back, I don't know, at some point in the future, and we'll hang out. But his great-great-grandfather started the company and then sold it to a much larger American company when they started importing in the 60s. And then his last name, Bola, everyone knows what that is anyway. So is what it is. But yeah, Valdo is when you're in Italy, that's what Valdobbiadene is called. You just call it Valdo.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it so easy though on the global consumer because you know the word Valdobbiadene is associated with quality Prosecco, and then you just call your wine Valdo.
Yeah.
Valdo.
Yeah,
The New York accent still kills me sometimes when I'm talking about wine. Plus,
Valdo.
it's a great way to start the night off, to be honest. I mean, I think every night should begin and end with bubbles.
Let's us three start a winery in Arizona called what?
Bubbles.
We'd sell it to strip
Bub?
clubs.
Bubs.
Bubs.
I really definitely think we should make a really cheap and expensive champagne that the only purpose of it is to spray on people. That's it. No, you don't drink it. You just grab the bottle, you shake it, and you
Right.
just spray it on everybody.
Well,
By the way, make it no sugar so nobody gets sticky and gross afterwards. But man, you just sell a crap ton of that.
the other thing is that for years, champagne producers sponsored a lot of the races around Europe. And when they won, they took the big 15-liter bottle, they sprayed it all over people, and they celebrated. I'm seeing more and more Prosecco producers fill in that gap.
Well, so we talked about that on one episode. It wasn't started. It was like more of a recent thing. Like it was in the 60s or 70s or something. And it was from a Formula One thing. And the guy was supposed to drink it as his sponsorship. He was supposed to drink it, but he didn't know that. So he just took it. And when he popped it, it sprayed. And in a habit, like he kind of just did this onto people. And ever since then, that was the celebration. Like everybody went, oh, ooh, he accidentally sprayed people with it because he won. And then every time, championship, sprayed on somebody. I saw the Wimbledon one, the guy who was spraying it. Every Formula One race for sure.
1 year later, Triple X movies started.
Triple A, yeah. Every club
Triple X
cranked their
started
prices.
after that,
Yeah.
It was crank. Yeah, that was a term then that developed from that.
I believe it.
So, when it comes to Proseccos, I'm going to just tell anybody that's actually listening, the one word to look for is
Don't say
Valdobbiadene.
actually this thing.
Or, you know what I'm saying now.
For the
So-
for the lot of you that are out there.
Or other people that are watching. Look for the word Valdobbiadene. And if you don't know what it is, just look for V and a whole lot of syllables and consonants.
Yeah, I wasn't going to try and do that. I'm glad you did it. There's a lot of B's in this thing.
'Cause I don't know if that weird blue label, if it is.
No.
It's not.
Nope. When you're in a wine shop, I would say something like 70% of them that are out there do not say Valdobbiadene on the bottle.
But it still says Prosecco.
It just says Prosecco.
It's interesting.
But it's just like saying I'm drinking Cabernet, or you're drinking Napa Valley, or you're drinking Howell Mountain. There's different tiers.
Right.
Just because you're drinking California Cabernet, it might be from Temecula.
Right.
So just drinking Prosecco, granted the Prosecco has a region, but it might be coming from outside of certain areas. Whereas within the Valdobbiadene, then you also have single vineyards.
Oh, yeah.
So
yes.
and so it gets, I mean, better and better and better in opinions.
Yeah.
But I know for a fact that the Cartizze vineyard is the most expensive vineyard in all of Italy. It's more expensive to own property on Cartizze than anywhere in Barolo.
Which is crazy because it's like a $30 bottle.
It's over €1 million per hectare in Cartizze.
That's insane.
It's
for Prosecco.
For Prosecco.
And it's
the
not that expensive
No.
of a bottle either.
I mean, it's expensive for Prosecco, which is weird because
But
people
it's
don't
cheaper
get
than
it.
champagne in some cases.
People will spend $50 on cheap champagne, but a $50 Prosecco people cringe at.
Yeah.
Oh, completely. Yeah, no, nobody pays
just like-
$50 on a bottle of Prosecco.
Prosecco is mind blowing, but that's what you're going to spend for Cartizze.
Well, so, we import Ferrari, and that, again, I mean, for the longest years running, like the highest rated sparkling producer by Gambara Rosso, just won again for 2019 the sparkling producer of the world by the Champagne and Sparkling Wine Continuum. Like the biggest thing that rates everything bubbly.
Is that Ferrari, like actually Ferrari the car? Like they have their own thing?
No,
Or
it's
is it just a lucky name?
No, Giulio Ferrari, amazing dude. At the end of the 1800s, was obsessed with champagne, moved to Champagne from Trento, Italy. Worked for an amazing winery in Champagne. After about 8 years, thought, I can do this in Trento. Moved back to Trento, planted Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, and that's what started the Trento DOC
That's crazy.
wines. Yeah,
Never heard that story.
it's amazing.
That's a really cool story.
It's amazing.
I just assumed Ferrari just bought something.
That's a whole nother story, and I think we should almost say that for another episode.
yeah,
Trento
yeah.
DOC.
Exactly.
Because
Trento one.
But Trento DOC is basically almost like champagne made in Trento. That's what it's called. They call it Trento DOC. They actually
Exactly,
they
yeah,
say
Trento
DOC
DOC.
there.
Yeah, exactly,
So
Trento
Trento DOC is like champagne. It's almost like Franciacorta in a way.
Very much so.
That's
But different. I get it, but I'm just trying to make it kind of.
But
Dumb it down.
far superior
Yeah.
than anything else.
I've had it, and that is also a very tough sell in America.
Exactly.
Because you're now trying to sell an Italian champagne method champenois wine from northern Italy called Trento DOC.
Which that's one thing that was amazing about the marketing was to make champagne what it is, to the point where the name is when you see bubbles, you think champagne. Still to this day, 90% of the people walk into the winery, whatever, go, oh, I see you've got champagne on your menu. I'm like, well, it's my sparkling Gewürztraminer. It's not champagne.
When we went to the party at your cousin's house, we showed up with a bunch of Proseccos, and the
Champagne.
and the girl comes up and goes, "Oh, you brought champagne," and then she kind of cringed. She goes, "Oh, wait, you're the wine guys. I'm not supposed to say that."
She literally was like, oh, my bad. What
I'm
is
not
this
supposed to say
actually?
that.
I'm
And I was
no,
like, call what
this-
you want.
do
It's called
Yeah.
bubbles. Doesn't
Bubbles.
matter. We're gonna drink it. We're gonna have a lot of fun tonight.
Yeah, it's all that
matters.
great marketing of why you call champagne or Kleenex instead of a facial tissue or Post-it notes and vice versa.
Frisbee.
Yeah, and vice versa. The other thing you get is sulfites.
But that is what
You get the negative connotation of
well,
it.
exactly. But that's what's difficult about the world of wine.
So, are there any sulfites in this bottle? Because we're going to talk a lot about sulfites. on
Also,
this
am I
episode.
smelling
it
sulfites when
is-
effervescence kicks
this
off?
has sulfites. Is this going to give me a headache, Sean?
It is wine, and it is on the planet Earth. So technically, in this atmosphere, there is sulfites in wine.
I found
in
out
this atmosphere on this planet.
I found out something. The human body contains 10 times the amount of sulfites naturally in your human body than any wine has. Doesn't
So
matter.
what
It's
you're saying
in you.
is there's sulfites in you?
Yes. So if you are
And if they're not there, they will be later.
They will be later.
Hey, it's Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
I'm stoked.
Does that make you a horner, baby? Yeah.
not
Friday
Mike Myers.
Oh, they're making a fourth one, by the way, right
That's
now.
a double
Yeah.
bad joke because
Because I mean, bad jokes
Jason
are awesome.
Voorhees was
yeah, Mike
Dude,
Myers.
it's not a-
Michael Myers.
No, yeah, well, that was
Oh my God.
Halloween, not Friday the 13th.
I-
but
Oh, wait, Michael Myers is
I'm
Halloween.
making-
I just
Damn
got-
it.
I was
I'm
like,
making
Jason
a
Voorhees.
double- I'm making a double bad joke. A double bad
God,
joke.
the wrong thing. You know what the worst thing about that movie, by the way, Halloween, with Mike Myers, is if you can fucking skip, you can get away from Mike Myers. Like, how does he kill 20 people when all it takes is you just skip the fuck away?
It's kind of that way with a lot of those movies. I mean, same thing with like Jason Voorhees. Like,
Oh, yeah.
he never really ran. It was.
But he was sneaky. Mike Myers just walks straight at you, and you're like,
Yeah.
okay,
But
well, he's
again-
coming. Like, all right,
but
I guess
again-
just run.
Does that make you horny, baby?
Mike Myers
Yeah.
coming.
All right, so for everybody listening, this is our second episode with Sean Tevik,
They literally just get better and better.
former som and restaurant buyer here in town. Well, you're still a som. Are you actually an official
Mike Myers
som? Do you
impersonator.
actually have your som degree or anything?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I went
I got my level 1 is when they called it level 1 back in the day, so introductory, but I never got any more.
went through initially through the full rigmarole through the International Sommelier Guild (ISG), which the master level of that back in the day, like 04, was like a teaching certificate thing. 04, 05. Did the first couple levels through the court also when my wife was going through the court. But yeah, man.
Yeah, baby.
Did you read the article from the girl from Australia that had her Master Som pin pulled because of the controversy?
I did recently read that. Yes.
It's a great article, and I love the fact that she kind of held her ground and said, "You know what? I'm accomplishing what I want to accomplish, and you know what? Because you pulled my pin, I don't need to go any further."
Yeah. There's a million different things one can do in any category of any field that anyone is in. That was the one where she talked about drinking
Manhattans,
right? Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that was a great article.
It was a great article.
Did you see the
Killer
follow-up
article.
from the news organization that did that? There's a guy out there writing. He read her thing, and he's going off about it too. It just popped up in this wine blog I'm reading on Reddit, and it seems to get a little bit more insidious than just what she wrote. Like, there's like, I'm not conspiracy person in most cases, but clearly some people at the top know, they have to know who did what and who got caught, but yet they still took everybody's stuff
Correct.
away,
Which was horrible.
and they're keeping it real fucking tight, which that sucks. Honestly, if I was going for my Somm, I'd always in the back of my mind be like, if somebody fucks this up for us, they're gonna snatch it from me.
It's like
At any point in any time.
It's like you just passed a California bar, then you found out some guy on the other side of the country cheated, and they pull your
bar
license.
Yeah.
You're like, wait a minute,
We
I don't
have
even
to-
know this guy.
And the fact that they claimed we're keeping our integrity, which, by the way, I get you have to keep a standard, but you also just set a terrible precedent. Like, if you really like vengefully want to go after somebody, you could just be like, oh, I sent off, an email to this thing and got everybody to cheat, and then, all right, cool, well, we're pulling everybody's thing.
Nope.
But the organization as a whole has never had to deal with this before, so it would be difficult.
It was
for
the
anyone
heaviest-handed thing they could have done.
in the world of social media where we all have an opinion.
True.
On things.
We're all armchairing this one.
Exactly. We all have an opinion on things that.
We got plenty of glasses.
It's like I said, man.
Okay,
It's
cool.
one of those things where I get both stories, but I think the absolute, obviously biggest losers of the whole thing were the people who had their Psalms or their master Psalm taken away. The hardest test. This isn't really something that I would imagine. For
However,
a long time
the-
you'd want to redo it.
However, though, the people that did have it removed, they were offered to have it reinstated. They were offered full compensation for travel, hotel, everything to go take it again.
Which is a good way of making things kind of right.
Yeah. So
Was it just the
th-
one
and-
thing,
and-
by the way? Just the tasting
There were
portion?
I believe what the article said there was 2 wines that they said there was going to be a Cote de Rhone and a Pinot Grigio.
Yeah.
But for
I
example,
believe it was only the tasting portion.
correct.
So in theory, they passed the other sections.
Yeah, they passed theory.
And then all they'd have to redo is go back and do that. Which, by the way, I know it sounds crazy, all they have to do, but that's obviously insanely difficult.
Someone I respect an awful lot in the business who's up in Vegas, and she studied her ass off. She passed the test. She got her master. She had it pulled. When she retested, the amount of stress and everything that was going through her body and the anxiety, she ended up failing the tasting on her retake.
How many times does she get to retake that? Just the
She
one
gotta wait-
time?
Does she have to wait like a year till she can retake it or something like that? Or
But
6
are they giving her
months?
full compensation for as many retakes?
She-
What are you allowed, 2?
She failed it on her second time on her retake. So I don't. She's going to come on the show with us next time she comes to Arizona. So
We'll ask
I don't
her
want to
then.
drop names or anything
Yeah.
like that.
I
But
know
I
who you're
respect her an
talking-
awful
No,
lot. and-
she's amazing.
You
Absolutely
know who I'm
amazing.
talking about,
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. I couldn't imagine being like having the biggest, literally the biggest accomplishment of your life, and then just going, listen, somebody else cheated, therefore we have to take it away from you. Okay, I don't even know how I would react.
This
to
girl on
that.
our shows, she's like, I'm literally drinking. She's like, I get home at night and I normally don't drink. She goes, I'm finding myself drinking Manhattans every single night now.
Sure.
Just to sleep at night. I mean, that's rough.
But to your point, though, that to get through that and not have that happen, not to go back to Valdo Prosecco, but the show that we went to the other night with Valdo there, that particular aerobatic producer, aerobatic plane instructor and plane, I don't know.
Yeah, what do you-
I guess pilot. I guess obviously he's a pilot,
Yeah.
but
Trick pilot.
he's one of like
Think of the Red Bull
75
racing.
people that can do that.
Yeah.
So he was comparing it and why he's aligned with wineries because he aligns himself with master sommeliers, where there's only less than 2 or less than 300 in the U.S. through the court. Anyway, he is less than 90 in the world of what he does as far as acrobatic flying. So, acrobatic flying, I don't know.
I don't know what the term. That's so cool though.
I
It's
don't
the
know.
people
Is it
who
though?
like fly
Is it?
up
I mean,
and they hit the
is-
smoke and then they spin
Is
back
master
down.
librarian cool? I don't know.
How old is she?
I love glasses. Never mind.
I went to a Catholic school. My librarian was old. Like, if you told her to act her age, she would have died.
So one of the reasons we actually wanted to do this episode tonight was because this is a follow-up to our sulfite episode, and Sean has a lot of knowledge, and we have a lot of fun things to talk about on this show.
I don't know if I have a lot of knowledge. There's some things that I know to be true. And much of what you guys said on the last episode on sulfites was amazingly true. I was just disappointed I wasn't a part of it.
Well, that's why we have to get you here.
More than anything. More than anything.
I mean, it's one of the reasons we wanted to continue this conversation because there's so much false information out there.
Exactly.
There's so many people that somebody told them something and they just believe it, and then they talked to another friend and they told them the same thing, so now they just got reinforced the fact that their false information is true, and now they don't even want to listen to the truth. And you try and tell them the truth, and they're going to try and fight you. And on Reddit and social media and some other things,
You got blasted on
I
that one.
have been fighting with people now for 2 weeks about this, and people do not get it. Like, I can link articles, I can link doctors' studies, I can link, doesn't matter. People are like so stuck in their ways. Ketchup was one of the ones that was hilarious on Reddit.
Exactly. I don't drink a 750 milliliter of ketchup. Well, yeah, but still.
Because I said that I listed all the items that have more sulfites in them than wine, and one was ketchup, and that was the comment. I don't drink a full 750 milliliter bottle of ketchup.
Doesn't matter. Allergy is an allergy. Like, it's an allergy.
And we know what the allergy does if you have a sulfite allergy. You had mentioned, I mean, that yes, it's like it's an asthma
Throat
attack.
close up. Yeah, it's
If you have a sulfite allergy.
If you have a peanut allergy, I can't eat peanuts on a plane. Like, this doesn't matter how many peanuts there is. Like, they're like, oh, so-and-so in row 32 has a peanut allergy, so we're not serving peanuts today.
I mean, I fly a plane once a week and I have a penis. So if you have a penis allergy, I don't know what to do. I can't not get on the plane.
That's why you're
always scratchy.
That's why you take private planes now.
Yeah, taking private planes around.
Exactly.
That's funny because every time I hear a piano, my allergies go up. I just have a penis allergy.
So I found out this as I was going down the rabbit hole that white wines have more sulfites than red wines even.
4 times as much. 3 to 4 times as much.
Because everybody thinks red wines. Like, oh, I can't drink red wines because of the sulfites. And I didn't realize, to be honest, like a lot of what we talked about in this last episode was stuff that I've read, but it has inspired me to read more and go deeper down this rabbit hole of sulfites and the sulfite allergy, how it affects you, what it does to you. And some of the gimmicky devices out there, which we're going to get into here in a little bit.
Well, yeah, like one of the big things is reading up on sulfite. And what I learned from it through chemistry is when you actually take like chemical things and break it down on how it binds to and neutralizes or kills something, sulfites can't bind to a shit ton of things. Therefore, it can't affect you. It just can't do it. So therefore, it's just kind of this inert thing that just, it loves to bind with oxygen and it loves to kill germs. That's really it. Like, if you snorted a bag of sulfites, you'd probably have a problem.
It's a super, super simple natural organism. Super simple. I mean, I started looking at it super early on in my wine career. I'm thinking like 2002-ish, 2003. So if I'm 41 now, I'm in my early 20s. When my mother was diagnosed with lupus. It's like a Seinfeld joke.
It's also a house
The bad
thing.
lupus. It was the bad lupus, not the good lupus, but the bad lupus. But is there a good lupus? No, there is not.
If it's on house, everything is lupus.
Right, exactly. And then and another sort of debilitating intestinal disorder. Much of what her doctor at the time was talking about sulfites being a giant like instigator in affecting these disorders or these diseases. And even early on then, looking into it, what they were saying, like, no, this is not a thing, from my point of view anyway, this is not a thing. Like, okay, don't drink red wine. Just stick with white wine because there's less sulfites. It doesn't make any sense at all.
No.
The reason for, excuse me, the reason for sulfites in wine is super simple, super simple. There is nothing about adding sulfites, which are a natural byproduct of fermentation, into wine. And you will see more sulfites in white wines. Obviously, Jonathan, you know, as a winemaker, because if you're going to arrest malolactic conversion of acids, you'll
Gotta
add
use
a
sulfites to
tiny
kill that.
bit of you'll add a little bit of sulfites to arrest the bacteria that naturally converts malic into.
Well, isn't that how they also
lactobacillus.
do like Rieslings or like sweet? If you want to keep your wine sweet, you add sulfites to kill off the yeast for the most part, or stun it enough that they become inoculate. And inoculate.
I
that's the
also
wrong
think
word.
with white
Anyways.
wines, if your red wine ends up a little cloudy, it's okay. No one's really going to notice. But if your white wine ends up destabilizing, gets cloudy, and changes color, it starts looking bad. You get a sulfite-free case of wine, and you could have 12 different shades of white wine in that one case because the wine hasn't been stabilized. Whereas if it's a red wine, you're probably not even going to notice.
You're not really going to notice in some cases.
So have you
By
ever...
the way, I got to ask: is there sulfites in liquor? Vodka, Scotch,
Of course,
tequila?
there's
Is there
sulfites in
sulfites in it?
everything. There's sulfites.
But let me rephrase that.
We-
added sulfites into, like, do they take a whiskey in a barrel and
I'm
dump
assuming...
sulfites into it?
Yes, yeah,
But
to-
but
to-
the alcohol's so
to
high.
to clean a barrel.
Well, yeah. But like if you've got you're doing an 18-year Scotch, it's in the barrel. Like I top up because of our pressure. It's air pressure and temperature for our winery. I add sulfites roughly every 3 weeks to our barrels. Very little, like just enough to keep that stabilization going on and everything. Because by the way, sulfites are added based upon atmosphere pressure and temperature, and pH level, obviously,
Exactly.
which are very important. But if you have a whiskey, mezcal, tequila, whatever, rum in a thing, do they just walk by a barrel and add sulfites to it? Or do they just leave it because the alcohol's so damn high?
Would be whatever degree or what situation would need that, but certainly.
Would they? Okay. I just didn't know if alcohol
Everything.
could go bad that way.
But if you're doing vodka, it's a distilled product. You're not barrel aging.
Well, you're not barrel
anyways.
aged. Have you seen
So-
barrel aged vodka has been coming out, by the way? I just saw a commercial for it and I went, really? Like, cool.
But a lot of people say like that they drink certain vodkas because they're gluten free, which is total bullshit. Also, because it's a distilled product. Once you distill vodka, there's not any gluten in it. It's vapors that come off, they cool down and drip down. And I've talked to vodka producers about this. It's a gimmick. It's a sales technique.
It's like, yeah, so they
Great.
grape vodka.
Grape vodkas, potato vodkas.
Potato
People are like, I
vodka.
only drink Chopin because it's made with potatoes.
Well, you can go to Monrovia, California, any day of the week and go to the warehouse and see whatever frosted bottle on the top shelf of Safeway that you buy from. You can see those bottles going through, and then they'll take a quick break. Then you can see the middle shelf go through, and it's all from Russia or
Poland.
Poland or wherever,
Yeah.
wherever it is, all the way to the bottom. I mean,
Dude, this is really good.
this is
Sancerre is
good.
really good. Sorry, I just finally took my first sip of it and it was like really good.
So yeah, this is Sancerre.
Is this done in barrels or mallowed or anything? Because it's so much softer than other Sancerres I've had.
Not barrel, just pure, true deliciousness. And sort of like one of the
makes me
things
happy.
when we were talking about things in regard to sulfites and what fired me up this past week was hearing about things, close people in our lives that are looking more at natural fermentations or what's called spontaneous fermentation, which is a term I've never heard before.
Is that like premature, spontaneous
Explosions.
I've never heard anything like it in my entire life.
And-
What is
heard
it?
anything like
Spontaneous fermentation? So
Spontaneous
Just
fermentation.
fermentation?
And
So
to be
fermentation.
clear, you've
What?
worked in wineries, you've sold wine, you've been a somm, you've worked for restaurants when they've had James Beard Awards, you've run the best wine programs here in town, and this is a term you've never heard of, but
Because it's the most stupid term I've ever heard in my entire life. But I mean that in the most loving way.
so if I
Because only because it's a term that comes from. I believe personally that it's a term that comes from inexperience. It's from not understanding the full picture of how fermentation works. Fermentation is so simple. Sugar plus yeast plus temperature. So you have sugar from grapes, you have yeast in the air everywhere around us, and then you have temperature in the right temperature, roughly 70 degrees Fahrenheit. In that environment, fermentation occurs. So spontaneous fermentation or something to that degree is only witchcraft or
Ooh, I like voodoo wines.
I mentally
Right.
think carbonic maceration when you say that term. I think about when you have all the
pressurized.
when you have all the grapes, like when you like Bouget Nouveau.
Yeah.
You bring them all in, they're sitting there, they start warming up, and they just start fermenting naturally. It just starts happening. So when you say that, that's where my brain instantly goes, is that it's a natural, spontaneous fermentation, but it's going to happen no matter what. I mean, in jail, never been there, but I heard you could just take a bunch of apples and heat them up and put them underneath your bed, and they start actually fermenting.
There's a video that went through Reddit called "How to Make Pruno Wine."
Yeah.
And somebody made it, and then I'm pretty sure vomited after they made it.
no, turlet merlet.
What I was always told, you take a gallon jug of milk, like empty it and clean it out, and you leave it. You put your juice in, throw some yeast, and you tie a latex glove to the top.
No,
and you
I've
watch
literally
the
made.
hand
No, I'm telling you,
go up.
it's called turlet merlet. Is
that really what
I've made it in jail before. I've literally made turlet merlet before.
Oh, let's never ever
So
do an
maybe
episode
that's what
of
we need to
Turlet
sell
Murder.
these people that want this wine.
Hey, technically, is that organic and non-GMO? It's
Well,
definitely not sustainable.
But how are the sulfite levels in a wine like that?
Well, exactly. Well, who knows? I mean, because our bodies only exude sulfites, so it is what it is. The frustrating point for me is where it's so many people that I love dearly in the industry who just haven't seen the full picture or something of like, there's not anybody out there doing something so terrible. There's, other than maybe importers or distributors or some salesperson like trying to sell a particular wine by saying, you know what, this is so good because monks made this and nobody else touched it. And you know what fermented this wine was the crap from eagle's nests or whatever
specific
it is.
strain of eagle?
Exactly.
snake
whatever,
juice.
Whatever it is.
Fucking-
Like, it's a dangerous.
It almost seems like it's coming off of too much information that you get at the winery. Like a random couple who runs a blog or a newspaper walks into a winery in Napa and they say, yeah, we do our bricks at 22% and we do fermentation in our eggshells, blah, 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 blah. And they give them so much information. And the only thing they absorbed was spontaneous fermentation, oak, and sulfites. And so that it's the worst game of telephone ever, basically. And so then they go and write a thing about it and go, oh, spontaneous fermentation happened. But the host of the winery was just telling them like, it's a normal thing. Like this is what it is. But they heard spontaneous fermentation at this super high-end winery. And therefore it's a high-end winery. Therefore nobody else does it except high-end wines. And then from there, 1,000 other people read that blog and went, oh, spontaneous fermentation. I need that. And then just boom, it just goes out into the public and social media and everything. And then a marketing director somewhere for some huge company goes, why is spontaneous fermentation being a big trend right now? You know what? Who gives a shit? Put it on the bottle. Put spontaneous fermentation on the bottle and non-GMO this, and let's sell the crap out of that. And now all of a sudden it's a staple in everybody's mind. That
But
spontaneous
it's the
fermentation has to be a thing.
It's the same thing as like going to a winery. Oh my God, this tastes amazing. And then the person that's talking about the wine saying like, oh, well, yeah, our vineyard manager who picks all the grapes, his name is Henry. Oh, and he's the best guy ever. I love Henry. Oh, cool. And then like maybe a year later, you're in a winery, maybe that was California. Maybe the next year you're in Spain and like, oh, Henri, our winemaker he picked these grapes. Oh my God. Oh, okay. Wow. I guess I only like wines picked by guys named Henry. Like, oh, this is amazing. Oh, okay. I understand it now, which is okay. However, that's not necessarily the truth behind what's in the wine. Like, even the biggest guys on the block, the biggest guys on the planet, as debauchery or as terrible as some of them are, they're all looking only to cut corners and to cut costs. So to add things or to manipulate wines, like, that's not a thing that really necessarily exists. I mean, to some
You
extent,
cut
it
wine
does.
with other wine.
Well, exactly. But like fermentation, again, sugar plus yeast plus temperature. So, I mean, cavemen made wine. The real science behind wine is how to sell a bottle of wine. We can all make a bottle of wine in our toilets or in our bathtub.
6-gallon jug in the back of your closet.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, 5-gallon carboys.
Yay, toilet wine, Chateau Commode.
The best thing about living in Northern California was like being able to bring your own, like bringing a 5-gallon carboy of homemade rosé to set on the table of a table is amazing.
Shots of Newfie Doofy to Poopy.
And it is what it's.
So where did
It is.
I wonder where where Henry came up with spontaneous fermentation? Was this from something like, and I brought it up the other night, somebody like Miner, who I respect their wines,
Right.
but they do the wild yeast ferment, and they put that on their bottle, and they talk about the fact that they do their wild yeast ferment.
All yeast is wild. Even if it comes in a packet, at some point, sometime it's wild. Like, that's like saying, well, we have wild lions in our zoo. Well, obviously, at some point, they would have been fucking wild.
Exactly. Where did it come from? Who knows? That for me, the most important thing is just the education of like what this is. So what is spontaneous fermentation? Well, one, that doesn't exist. I mean, it does because everything.
It's going to ferment regardless.
It's also
It's
not
gonna ferment.
spontaneous. They know when they're doing it. If you go through a cold soak, cold stabilization, and they go, all right, well, it's 3 days in, crank the temperature up. The fermentation will start the second it goes above. I think it's 58 is when it activates, and 70 is like the stabilized zone.
So, for me in my head space, it is along the same lines of the natural wine producers. People that say that they are making natural wine, which is not a term that exists, legally in truthfulness of any kind. So it doesn't make any sense to say.
Oh,
that
you're
you
going to
make
piss some
natural.
people off with that comment.
Well, no, real thought about this
But
is
it isn't
No,
a
I know.
thing.
it's
not a thing at
natural
all.
wine. Wine is not natural. It's not. You have to force something to be something. Therefore, it can't be natural. Like if you're making a wine, you're making the wine. Therefore, it's not obviously natural. But at the same time, it naturally becomes alcohol. If a bundle of grapes falls onto the ground and burst open, that little puddle on the ground is just going to naturally become wine. So all wine is either natural or just the process is not natural. Get really high, by the way, and think about what I just said.
Well, but that is true, though. Immaculate conception of a bottle of wine.
Yeah.
So how
immaculate inoculation.
Yeah, you cannot have grapes that have sugar in them with yeast in the air without human interaction of picking the grapes. So, like, what is the end-all goal?
It all seems to come down to a marketing scheme.
I'm gonna make a spontaneous fermentation wine, and we're gonna call it immaculate inoculation.
And it needs to come from Chateau
But
Commode.
that's my next T-shirt.
We could make a.
I have two T-shirts for you guys, but I have my next T-shirt is the immaculate inoculation.
So we need to make.
Hardcore,
I feel like
metal.
Yes.
Oh, the
It's
best
good.
thing.
It's a
Yes.
good T-shirt. It's a good
Oh
T-shirt.
damn! And you wore the shirt too.
Yeah.
All
What's
right,
got my
well,
initials?
I'm wearing. I gotta
It's
wear
got my
the
initials on it.
I gotta wear the blazer next time.
Me and Ken.
Totally.
Me too. I love it. But we should also make a fortified wine called like Porto wine, and just have a porta potty right on the label.
From a marketing standpoint, I understand why these people do it, though.
But it's
They're
all
trying
mar-
to.
it's all
But
marketing.
I
It
think
is.
that's sort of
It's
my
a
point. Is
gimmick.
that it's a marketing standpoint, and so for people that are so near and dear to my heart, who base their businesses on these things that are just marketing standpoints, it's like for me, because I know how the hot dogs are made, and the hot dogs are not made bad. The hot dogs are made naturally. All of them, even the big guys, are making the hot dogs naturally.
Have you had a heart? Have you sat down, drank some mezcal, or drank some like Amaros, and had a heart to heart with these people, or do they just not want to listen? Because they appreciate your opinion.
Some people. No, yes, for sure. Some friends, yes. Some friends, no, yeah. Some friends, don't.
I got friends that are
don't want
anti-vaxxers that are so set in their ways.
That's
and-
kind of
Or flat earthers.
Hey, I got an article I'm going to send you too
So,
about this.
I've
Are
got
you really a flat earther?
No,
No, but
I love to
we
talk about
convince
it.
everybody that he is.
Yeah,
I like to troll
Jonathan, I've
people.
heard you talk about him.
Yes.
that
He
is a flat
got
earther.
me, dude. He got me so good. I was this close to ending our relationship because he got me so good.
Wait,
he
you
was
guys are
so
dating?
convincing.
Oh, I went straight faced all
full
about.
about to break up.
Yeah.
our bro relation. What do they call that? No, I don't know what the term is. Anyway,
It was you and your dad, and I went on
I was so mad, dude.
about a 90-minute rant about the moon landings being faked, flat Earths, and
He was showing me pictures.
his mind was like ready to
Do you guys
explode.
think
was
the moon
so
landings are faked?
I like to convince things of people.
But do you
I'm a
think-
salesman.
But
dude.
do you think that they are?
No.
I'm a salesman. I think some of it was. I think some of it was exaggerated. I think it was part of the times.
Well, they have
I
the
think-
pictures where there's the
I think
string,
the
yeah.
moon landings. Great.
By the way,
it totally happened.
By the way, marketing.
That's it.
Hey, listen, that guy. We want to show him floating through space, but we can't do it because we can't put a thing up there. Okay, we'll attach some spring to him, throw him above a pool, and we'll edit that out. Marketing.
I only have two things about the moon landing thing. One is to ask.
It happened, and we're going back. Conversation over.
I asked my dad, who was living in a suburb of Minneapolis, Minnesota at the time, in the late 60s, as a kid, what was the television like when you were living there? Like, to watch the nightly TV news, what was it like to watch that? Like, well, it was crappy. I'm like, well, was it a constant signal? Like, no, it would go in and out. Okay, but the night the moon landing happened, you could see everything? Yeah, we could all see everything. That's the weirdest thing to me. How do you, a suburb of Minneapolis, from the tower in Minneapolis every night of the year, but then all of a sudden you can send a signal from the moon? That's weird to me.
Because it's not hitting mountains and clouds and stuff.
We're
along
not.
the way, and
We're
it's
not.
aiming
We're not going
straight.
here tonight.
No, but they were on the dark side of the moon, though.
They weren't on the dark side, but they looked at Earth. They went. There's a picture of.
I'm not going down this rabbit hole right now.
This is the best.
By the way, no, actually, here's the thing. Because same thing with anti-vaxxers, because their whole thing is, mercury. This specific mercury is bad. With sulfites,
yeah, it came from
there
the
are
moon. It came
two-
back on the
Mercury
shuttle.
moon. Yeah,
No, it came from the shuttle on the moon.
and everybody got cancer too.
Exactly. That's
With
where it all came from.
sulfites, there are two sulfites. There's potassium metabisulfite and sodium metabisulfite. It's two different sulfites. So if somebody says, I have a sulfite allergy, okay, which one? Which sulfite are you allergic to? Because it's two different chemicals. Or two different, chemical compounds.
I think people just want to blame something for the fact that they drank too
Are you
much
allergic
wine.
to cashews or are you allergic to peanuts?
When I drink way too much wine and I don't eat, I wake up the next day. I'm not blaming anybody but myself. I'm not blaming on the sulfites.
It's funny.
I'm not-
I ironically blame you for all of my hangovers.
Yeah, I know.
What'd you
I
do
don't
last
think
night? I was with
everybody
Damien
for
and my
hangovers.
head hurts.
Yeah. So, have you seen any of these weird devices that they've come up with and different things to remove sulfites from wine?
Yes, but none of it's true. None of it's real.
Yeah.
Now, but
Damien found some good
Some
ones.
of these and most of these they sell on Amazon.
Well, let's talk about, if we can go back real quick.
Please, let's
to
digress.
to the last episode also, because one of the things that irritated me so much, I did not see the Reddit thing that you guys were talking about, so I don't know what people were talking about, but you had made mention that was there was a lot of discussion.
The greatest comment though was about the ketchup. That was
was
the
the
one that
funniest
cracked
one.
me up.
Because that's the part that you said on the episode too, like. I don't drink 750 milliliters of ketchup. Well, I did the math.
Go on.
So, drinking 750 milliliters of ketchup.
I love this. This makes me happy.
This is awesome.
So, on average, and this is from, on average, the parts per million of SO2 in a bottle of ketchup. This is between the U.S. and also the U.K. and then a couple of other European medical organizations. 900 parts per million would be the very lowest. That very
In ketchup?
in ketchup.
Holy shit.
900 parts per million. up to about 3,000 parts per million.
That's insane.
The average
why it's
size
always red.
bottle.
Well, because wine is, I think UK is the max you could do, or it's up to 120, and America is 160 parts per million.
The max, but there's no reason that anyone would ever have that much SO2
It would kill the
in a
nose
bottle of
and the
wine.
flavor of the wine.
The reason to use any sulfur dioxide in a wine in the US or anywhere around the world is only briefly for adjusting for the free oxygen. So the people that are inherent on obsessing about how much sulfur dioxide or SO2 is in a bottle of wine should only be asking the question, how much free oxygen is in the bottle of wine? And I've had dear friends who've expressed that if a sales sheet that has, from a distributor to an account has all the information on a wine, it should say how much sulfur dioxide is in each bottle.
No.
The real question would be how much free oxygen is in the wine, because that's really the only thing that would matter.
Yeah.
Either one will not necessarily affect the taste. Well, the free SO2 will not affect the taste as much as the free oxygen will affect the taste of a particular bottle of wine. So, yeah.
Well, that makes sense when you're talking about how much SO2 is added into a ketchup. Because you can leave a bottle of ketchup on your counter for 6 months and it's still bright red. It doesn't change colors. It doesn't.
How many sulfites do you think are in a Twinkie if it could survive a nuclear attack?
Well, exactly. So for your buddy
Oh, I can't wait.
who hated what you were saying about ketchup. So if on average a bottle of ketchup is about 900 parts per million to 3,000 parts per million
That's so
for a
much.
20-ounce bottle of ketchup, that's an average bottle of ketchup. I just base it on the average, which would be 2,000 parts per million, between 900 and 3,000, about 2,000 parts per
For
million.
every ounce of ketchup, you're getting like 75 milligrams of sulfites. That's more than a bottle of wine. It's grams or milligrams? Grams.
He did the math.
It's parts per million.
Parts
It's
per
only
million. Excuse me, parts per million. Yes, excuse me. So 75 parts per million on a single ounce of ketchup, which is per my French fry, by the way.
It's,
Totally.
it
Listen to
equates
this.
to 100 parts per million. 100 parts per million for ketchup.
Oh,
So if I have a side of ketchup for my fries, but my fries also have that, like, how is that equal to bottles of wine?
about a bottle, on average, probably.
It would take 25 to 30 bottles of wine to equate one bottle of ketchup. So, like, 4 packets of ketchup would be
A couple sips of wine.
like a couple sips of wine, for the most part.
Yeah.
So, like, it's not.
Which,
it's
by
not
the
a
way, you
thing.
can't get a headache from drinking ketchup because you'll puke first.
And that was one of the things in this debate I was having was everybody was an armchair doctor, and they were like, well, how many parts per million in this, and how many parts per that's, and everybody literally started going down, talk about parts per million. I was like, wait, it doesn't matter. If you have an allergy, you have an allergy. Like, honestly, if you eat ketchup and you get a hangover or a headache, well, maybe you have an issue.
Well, and
It's probably the shit ton of sugar that's in ketchup, too.
Yeah, the hangover has nothing to do with anything.
It has
That's-
nothing to
yeah.
do with it, and that cracks me up.
But Jonathan, to your point, like of the UK allowing X amount parts per million versus the US, like
It's the same, right?
no, yeah,
It
for the
is-
most
it's
part,
different
but
by, like, 40
however,
parts.
There's no reason to spend more money on putting this component in your wine. I mean, it's already there. You're after primary fermentation. So when during the production side of things, when we look at, okay, we picked these grapes, they're 23% sugar. Okay, now they're fermenting naturally because there's
Spontaneously.
yeast everywhere. Spontaneous. It happened out of nowhere. Oh my God.
I didn't know that wine could do, or grapes could do this.
Holy Jesus.
The only
Hey,
time there
this.
was spontaneous
I only
fermentation.
want Jesus fermented grapes. So then the grapes start fermenting. Once there's 0% sugar, primary fermentation is done. Then you can look at free oxygen and SO2 levels to look at secondary fermentation. Secondary fermentation not being what we commonly use in the U.S. as a term for sparkling wine. I mean, that's actually a separate thing, but secondary fermentation being the malic acid to lactic acid fermentation, which actually isn't a fermentation, it's a conversion of acids, but yada, yada, yada. Looking at that second point then of where SO2 levels are and where oxygen levels are. To only look at oxygen levels, who cares?
I think we have a new term, by the way. We'll no longer say malolactic fermentation. We'll say malolactic conversion, and we'll put that on the bottle.
That is what it is, though.
No, don't tell anybody. This is our secret. Our new wine, the Chateau Commode Immaculate Inoculation is also going to have malolactic conversion. Only we do malolactic conversion.
And we're only going to use free-range, organic, non-GMO sulfites in it, though.
Yeah.
The other thing, though, and I want to insist, this only comes from a place of love in my heart.
Totally.
Like, Damien,
It's misinformation, and this is why we get upset.
You know, you weren't born with every knowledge of wine in the world. I wasn't born with every knowledge of wine in the world. I am only 0.001% of maybe 0.00% of any knowledge that I will ever have in the world of wine. But
You're right. It comes from love.
it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to hear things that are just plain wrong.
I agree 100%. It drives me crazy. And this is why we've been on these rants now about sulfites. I have a whole nother one about sustainability we're going to get into here soon, too. It's going on in Sonoma with the sustainability.
Yeah.
Because it's just driving me crazy. It's this misinformation or these clickbait articles or these sales techniques. Everybody wants to separate themselves from the winery next door. How do you separate yourself? Well, you're both Sonoma Pinot Noir. The only way you separate yourself is your name, but I can now say that I'm spontaneously fermented. Now you have a separate sales technique that you're going to try and sell your wine. And then people start believing it. And then people want to buy it. And then they start asking about it. And it spirals out of control. And
It's dangerous.
people...
This is how literally... I mean, well, no, I'm not. I shouldn't say that. I don't know. I was going to go really dark and really deep, but I shouldn't say that.
The couple jokes I make, and I know it really pisses people off. One is the gluten thing, and for me, the other one is the Vaxxer thing. It's the
it's
just
sure.
it's belief.
This is how that happens, and this is how the flat earthers are. This is how
Conspiracy theories in a way.
I've flown around the world. I've seen it.
You can't fly
It's
around
round.
the world. It's flat.
You flew across the world.
No, I flew to the edge, and then I came back around.
I see the soul patch.
Oh yeah.
The Sancerre is fantastic, by the way.
Oh, that's Sancerre, and that Sancerre is
Do you say Sancerre or Sancerre?
Sancerre.
I was at Sancerre.
Son?
Sancerre-
Sancerre? Ooh, there's another label we could do.
Sancerre.
Sancerre.
So, well, actually, do the Pinot first. I would have Pinot.
Yeah,
first.
I'm going to pour a little of this.
You got two glasses.
All right.
So
I just love the fact that this is called Soul Patch Syrah. That is so fantastic.
Davis family.
Davis family's great.
Guy Davis has been an amazing champion of mine and my wife. Amazing winemaker. It was amazing, Damien, when you said on that episode.
Pinot
I was
Noir.
going to bring that up.
Oh, like I'll just make a wine called Soul Patch Syrah. I'm like, no, it exists already.
Some of the stuff we make up, we just talk about in the show. It's just the random shit that comes out of our mouth, and that's a
Yeah.
lot of the fun we have. And it cracked me up because literally I was like, we were talking about bad decisions we made when we were younger, and I was like, man, I had a soul patch, and I was like, well, make a wine called Soul Patch Syrah. You literally texted me an hour after I posted that episode. You're like, it already exists, and I was like,
I sell that too. It's such a good
damn
one.
it! And we've been talking about drinking this bottle together since that episode aired.
Exactly.
It's amazing
There's
how
a lot
many
of
great
bottles.
ideas get shot down because somebody did it before
Yeah,
then.
but
Like K Syrah.
There's a lot of bottles we've talked about opening, and I was only trying to grasp my head around a handful of them.
So let's talk. I want to talk for a minute before we get into the reds about the Sancerre.
Yeah, let's go to the Sancerre.
And the reason why I want to talk a little bit about it because Sancerre is Sauvignon Blanc,
Yeah.
and some of them could be very acidic driven. They could be aggressive. They pair well with food. I mean, stuff like shellfish, oysters. I mean, if you're dipping stuff in butter and Sancerre,
Fish, man.
it's
Dude,
so
fish is so
freaking good. This is a little different style Sancerre. The acid is very much in check. It's not aggressive. It's there, but it's not like a New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc or an American Sauv Blanc. It doesn't have that aggressive.
It's your favorite 5-letter word.
Smooth.
Yeah. Dude, that's why I asked. I was like, is there a little mallow on it? Is it a little oak? Like, it came off so soft. It wasn't that racing acidity and everything, and it was fantastic.
Excuse my ignorance on this.
Some flat earthers would say that it's because that it's only
There's no
native fermentations.
So
Was this spontaneously made?
Well, this was 100% native fermentation.
they only use the non-GMO sulfites
meaning
also.
natural yeast. No addition of yeast was added into this, which is not an uncommon thing in a lot of wines.
Which, by the way, I just kind of want to say this from like a winemaking perspective, and you both know. So for people watching or who don't know, wild fermentation is literally they crush and press the grapes, throw it into a tank, and they let the yeast on the outside of those grapes activate the wine, basically to bring it all up. Versus in some cases, and I do this for a couple of our wines, we literally make the day before or the morning of a beaker, a giant, huge friggin' beaker of basically the grape juice, and we throw the yeast strain that we want to use into this, and it starts to bubble, and then we dump all those pitchers into the tank the second the grapes go in, so it immediately starts fermentation. Not cold soaked or cold stabilized. We force feed the specific strain of yeast that we want. And I think some people don't really know that. Like, so you can have we pre-made the yeast batch before, or we just press the grapes, we throw it in the tank, and we just let it do its thing, basically.
Yeah, well, with this maybe potentially new trend of a term or misinformation with how fermentation occurs, native yeast is cool when it happens.
Yeah.
And
Gives a lot of character.
the last episode that I was on, when we talked about Thomas George, when I started that, and then Noble Tree, like ultimately was all native yeast fermentations. The first year was like maybe 60% inoculated because it was all cleaning things and brand new tanks and that sort of thing. But then it ended up being after that all native yeast. But if you're looking at native yeast, you need to look at the other three things also. You can't just look at if the equation for fermentation is sugar plus yeast plus temperature is the equation, you can't just look at one thing being yeast. Then you have to look at, well, was there enough sugar that year to make it ferment? Was the temperature the right year? Are your tanks outside? Did you heat up the tanks? Did you cool in the tanks? Ultimately, it doesn't matter as long as you like what the wine tastes like. It really doesn't matter those things. It's either you like what's in the glass in front of you or you don't like what's in the glass in front of you. So to pick one of those three things to dissect is pretty messed up.
It is.
Right?
I think about
That's a good point.
That's
a really good point.
When I was in Montalcino, one of our producers we visited, it's so hot there. I mean, it's very, very warm. And as he brings the grapes in and it goes into the destemming machine, it'll actually just start to naturally ferment regardless. So he actually has a giant machine where he but he literally shoots like liquid nitrogen basically to keep the grapes cooler.
It's crazy. That was the one you showed me the video where it's in the ground.
Yeah.
That is such a cool video.
It's a great video. I'll actually put it online and we will link it onto this episode so people can see it. But this guy has a giant built into the ground destemming machine, and as he's throwing the grapes in, they have to keep them cool because they just start to ferment because it just happens naturally. That's just the way it is.
The second the sugar hits
Sugar and
one
heat.
yeast, all it needs
Happens.
is. By the way, is yeast okay? Is that technically it's a bacteria? Good,
Quiet.
great pause. Great pause.
That was the first time.
Well, but
I think ever dead silence.
I have no idea.
Because we're not chemists. And I don't know. I'm not.
Because I don't know if yeast is a bacteria or if its own category.
But only thinking like, well, if it is, I mean, humans would be a bacteria.
Well, we basically are. Most of our body
Yes.
is bacteria.
Your gut,
So, like-
all the enzymes in your gut, that's all bacteria.
It's more bacteria
But
than
the
there
thing
are
about like
cells.
spontaneous fermentation or whatever the capacity may be of something natural, like without human intervention, you cannot turn a grape into wine like without voodoo or hoodoo. Or
The only thing I would say is
Sounds
the
like a
only
song.
honest to God way it would happen is if the bundle of grapes fell off from the trunk, hit the ground, and smashed open. And then, like,
Yeah.
a bird would get drunk. Like, have you ever seen the elephants that get drunk off the apples?
totally.
Because they fall on the ground and
Yep,
because
because
just a million piles
they
of
start
them.
rotting and they start fermenting on the tree.
But grapes don't usually fall off most of the time till they're rotted and most of the juice is out. And by then, birds will eat it and, whatever. I mean, I've never had problems with, like, all of our figs got eaten off of that one tree, so it's not like they're going to fall on the ground. I don't know, it's just it's weird what, again, talking about what people will die on that hill that they want, and the sulfite one is so weird. It's funny because people love today with wine, they want everything on there. They want more on the label, non-GMO, certified sustainable, organic. But within the industry, everybody in the industry wants sulfites removed from the label. And honestly, like, the sulfites isn't the biggest problem. It's obviously comes down to the alcohol. Alcohol is it's a poison. But God, it's so much fun. And people
weird
get
in
up
that
in arms
regard.
about, sulfites.
It's just because it's listed on the bottle. That's the reason why. But there's so many gimmicky things out there that drive me nuts. That are,
But
the drops, the sprays, the devices, the
Yeah, what are the other ones?
crazy device. I don't know if you've seen any of these or.
but you cannot care about sulfites in wine if you don't care about what the free oxygen levels are in wine. So,
Or the
even
other-
express for 1 second that, okay, well, you know what, this wine, they didn't add any sulfites to it or any sulfur, and there's no SO2 added to this wine. Okay, well, cool. Well, I know that it's going to be bad for the most part.
Or all these crazy other chemicals. One of the things I posted on the website, and I tried to show it during the video, but it didn't show up on the iPad. There's over 60 other chemicals you can add into wine that you don't have to put in the bottle.
Well, yeah, exactly.
And a lot of those are not natural chemicals.
Yeah, yeah. Well, okay, real quick then. The reason why SO2 is added into wine, mainly to offset oxygen levels. So when sulfites, which is SO2, which is a potassium,
Metabisulfite,
yeah.
sodium, sulfite.
to offset that, when the wine goes into, when it's in barrel, you start to look at the free oxygen levels. And the oxygen levels are going to literally ruin the wine, whether it's in tank or whether it's in barrel. Oxygen will ruin it. It's typically a very small amount, but you're always looking at, after primary fermentation and or secondary fermentation, only looking at those two numbers, and those two numbers dictate each other, really, what your free oxygen is and what your free SO2 levels are. So when you're doing that, okay, well, I need to do this or that. It is so minuscule of maybe to offset what your oxygen is. There's only one example that I know of. I had a amazingly close friend who I would consider a brother give me a hard time that said, like, well, you worked at 2 wineries in Sonoma County, so now you think you know everything, screw you.
Yeah.
Which is true. Like, I worked at a couple wineries, a few wineries, but also represented a couple hundred wineries in the grand scheme of things. And I think his or her point was only out of a place of love anyway, but
Always is.
Yeah, it was what it was, but like, no, it's like, this is very simple.
Sean, you've worked at wineries, but wine is your passion. It's different. There's people that work at the wineries that get home and don't think about the wines, don't think about the wineries every day. We all have something very much in common. We're very passionate about what's in these bottles. We're passionate about the marketing behind it. We're passionate about how it ages. We're passionate about how it's created, how it's sold,
behind
the
the
people
bottle.
behind it. This is our lifestyle. And that's why we take this very personal. And this is why I think we all get fired up about these terms, this spontaneous fermentation or these stupid freaking sulfite things that people are creating, these stupid gimmicky devices that are all over Amazon right now that people can buy.
Because somebody pops in with a stupid thing that doesn't do
And they
anything.
tell us, and you try and explain it to them. This is our life. I wake up every day, I go to bed at night, and wine is always running through my head in some form of a matter.
Yes.
Oh, it's probably running through my veins at this point. But
Selling and making at the same time, and making and drinking.
Yeah.
Like, we're all like to drink what we like, but we all come from three different things. He's more in the middle because he does both. But you're right. When you sit there and you have somebody telling you that your product is flawed because of something and it causes all these problems, and none of it's true. We sat here on that last one. We said, I 100% understand how doctors feel when it comes to anti-vaxxer movements. There's nothing you could do to fight it. So I think for us as people who are in the industry, we have to reach beyond the people we've already lost and go towards the people who don't know yet and say, listen, if you say, my mom told me, because she drank wine, her sulfites gave her headaches, be like, well, your mom has an idea, but here's reality. And then you explain to them with a lot more facts. You get the new wine drinkers to remove the sulfites. And then when we're all long and dead, the sulfite argument's done because, that ignorance goes away, that sulfites don't cause problems.
Well, I'm sitting at this table right now with two people that I truly respect and that I consider very good friends. And the reason we're friends is because of this little thing that was spontaneously fermented.
Rotted grape juice.
That's how we met. That's how we met.
Yeah.
And this is why we continue to hang out together and be friends, is because of...
It's not why we continue to hang out together.
Right. Because we also love like old punk bands and we rock blazers and...
I love you guys.
Is the soft skin too.
I wouldn't have known you guys or
Without
have ever
wine.
met either of you.
Totally.
We would have met, but it would have been
But also...
sexual and on the street.
I mean, you guys make me horny, baby.
$20 is $20.
It's Friday the 13th.
But honestly, we know a lot of people in the wine business, but we all have something very much in common. We're passionate about this. Mm-hmm. We know a ton of people in the wine business that don't have the same outlooks as we have. And that's why we're sitting at this table talking about this. I know some people are going to listen to this episode and be probably fired up at things we have to say.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe that's what makes me disheartened about the industry too. Like super dear friends. Like, I'm not saying anything that isn't true.
Yeah.
Like, it just this legitimately is a thing. Like, even the big guys, and I don't drink the big guys, but even those giant mass producers, nobody's really doing anything that bad necessarily. I mean, it's amazing somehow that you can buy a $6 bottle of wine at the gas station from Australia. That's not wine. That's Mog, who we talked about before. A matter other than grape. Those are things, but that's not wine, though. But in general, a bottle of wine, what we know as wine, everyone's running the same.
Well, here's the
game.
thing. Like, we are very lucky that with the exception of a Napa Valley and in some cases Sonoma, wine's not really that crazy expensive. It's not hyper focused. Like, Scotch is expensive because of what it is. Whiskey in general isn't crazy expensive. And it's a very easy product. It's a product everybody wants. And it's also a product that it's so subjective to what you want. Damien and I are Barolo people's Nebbiolo, but you know what? I like really a couple of grapes that people sit there and go, I would never drink that. Maybe you're a cool climate Syrah guy and you want to fight that battle for your whole life because most people won't drink cool climate Syrah. I don't like French wines. I have yet to have a French wine that goes, there it is, that's the best. Now, granted, I know I was about to say,
exactly.
There's
Or
literally
we're drinking champagne and like...
I've had a good amount of Bordeaux's and it's not my thing. Bordeaux isn't my thing. I've had a lot of Burgundy. Now, granted, I've never had the holy shit Burgundies. But all the basic stuff to me is not my thing. I like it a little bigger. I like Oregon. I like California. But like everybody's different. And if people keep bringing really cool, fun stuff to the table to try, and it's just such a fun industry to be in is booze.
So, Sean, I want your opinion on this, though, because
these are the crazy things.
These are some of the gimmicky devices that are all available on Amazon. And as we know, people spend more time on Amazon than actually doing research on products sometimes. So there's 4 things that I found on Amazon that remove sulfites from wine. Right? I know. So
He's shaking his head for
I
you
know.
who are listening.
So the first one we're going to talk about is called the wand.
I'll shake my head.
Yeah. So this is a wine wand that you can just spin around in your glass, and it says no more wine headaches, and it removes hangovers. It removes all histamines and sulfites from your wine.
No.
And here's the funny thing. Out of all the bullet points, it says, this device, you now have no more wasted wine. Our patented Phoenix technology in our wand restores open and oxidized wine to its natural state.
No.
Open and oxidized.
So my 5-day-old wine that's oxidized, I can stick this wand in and go Harry Potter on it, and all of a sudden now it's...
I mean, if that's the theory behind that, then you could take any wine you have and throw it into a blender and make your wine normal again.
So it says that this device will remove 2 components, histamines and sulfites.
You know, no.
How much is that?
This one is $19.99.
Bullshit.
We can order one right now in packages of 8.
Wait, is it a one-time use thing?
I think it has a little filter on it.
Oh my God.
Yes.
These
looks
guys
like
are
it
making
does.
a killing.
So this is called the wine wand, made by Pure Wine, and there literally says no more wine headaches. Remove sulfites in your wine.
For all of you listening or watching, I will happily have you pay me $20 and I will send you something to help with your hangovers and headaches, and you will receive a $20 bottle of wine in the mail.
This is going to get better. Trust me.
I'll send a $20 bottle of aspirin. It's easy.
So now there's drops. Item number 2. It's called...
Let's talk about the last one.
Okay, the wine wand.
That doesn't make any sense at all.
It's fucking...
Because it's a twirly machine, so the wine oxidizes. Guaranteed.
It looks like a spatula with a...
Guaranteed not to give you a hangover, but maybe because it takes that long.
The wand.
Yeah, maybe because it takes that long for the wine to get down the threads of tube.
But it's not... It literally, it looks like a spatula
It doesn't make any sense at all.
with...
I know.
Or it can remove...
With a Brillo pad on the end of it. That's what it looks like, literally.
Or it can remove sulfites.
Oh, these are going to get better. Trust me.
Let's send people...
These are all on Amazon, by the way. And they all have 5-star reviews. And I read the comments. The comments oh my God, this helped me so much. I haven't had a hangover since I drank this.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, they paid for all
Even
of
though
their
we
stuff.
know that sulfites don't cause hangovers.
That's insane. It's funny that we always joke about snake oil, all the time. Snake oil salesman. And it's just modern day stuff that's still out there.
It's the guy who used to travel around in his covered wagon going from town to town to town. And he knew after he was done selling his snake oil that he couldn't go back he couldn't go back to the previous town because they'd probably murder him because he just ripped them all off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's the next one.
Now you just have the internet.
So this is another one. It's $20, and these are wine drops. Wine drops are a natural wine sulfite and tannin remover.
No.
It is portable and discreet.
Yes, because sitting there dropping something into your wine isn't obvious.
And their marketing literally says this is a wine wand alternative.
Also made by the same company that makes the wine wand, probably.
Now, here's the thing. So, by the way, these things are all natural. They're non-GMO, and they're gluten-free. They are literally hitting every bullet point on this. The only thing it didn't say was that this won't give you the measles and this won't help with your anti-vaxxer mentality. So it literally says, do you get headaches from a glass of wine? Add these drops and no more wine headaches. Drop it. Wine drops will help you say goodbye to your wine headaches and hello to enjoyable wine drinking.
That's just amazing.
How is this shit sold on Amazon?
But
a social solution. The ultimate wine accessory. oh, these are going to get better.
I didn't even know what to say. Like, it's so stupid.
Well, but in regard to removing a headache or not having a headache is asinine, obviously.
Yeah.
But people believe it.
Here is a spray.
Copper into some sort of copper.
Gives in the copper penny.
Yeah,
Removes
exactly.
The what is it? The cork taint.
I've had, cork taint, you put a...
Sulfane.
yeah, you put basically
No, copper will
Saran wrap.
remove...
Saran wrap.
copper
Yeah, so
will
we've
remove
all-
some
we've all
other-
heard
other
things.
Yeah.
So actually, that's a thing. There used to be a chemical in Saran wrap that would actually bind to TCA, but that chemical
doesn't exist
That chemical
anymore.
is no longer used in Saran wrap, so it doesn't even. I've done the research.
If you
on that
find
one, too.
Saran wrap from 40 years ago, it might work.
So SO2 to go. Australia's secret weapon, new spray for no longer having wine headaches.
Damn it, Australia! What the hell?
This one, I mean, some of these bullet points that they have, same great taste. It won't affect the taste of your drink at all, except perhaps enhance the breathing of your wine. This is a spray to spray in your wine. People that are worried about additives are going to spray some fucking chemical in their goddamn wine. This is how asinine.
By the way,
this shit
is that one? What was the term where you like hide it, like non-discreet? You know, hide it below and just into your glass.
Yeah, all these lightweight, small size fits in your pocket. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, if you're carrying that around in your pocket, you are not the life of a party.
Let's
talk about Pinot Noir.
have
I'll
this?
come back to these because these I went down this rabbit hole for
Yeah,
an
this
hour.
thing-
My
glass?
head
You have
hurts
this in
thinking
your
about that dumb crap, dude. This Pinot Noir is fantastic.
Yeah, that gave me a wine headache just reading those articles and reading the comments.
You know what? Let's buy it,
Don't-
spray it into all of our wines, and see what happens.
don't
So you
say
get
don't
cancer.
say this is fantastic yet.
How does a wine wand reverse oxidation?
Let's talk about this Pinot Noir real quick.
Yeah, so it's called No Ancora.
No Ancora. So that's my personal label. My wife and I, Adrian.
What does it
started.
mean? What does it translate to?
Pie? Is that a pie? No, the C pie. The C.
Floating anchor,
Okay,
or decidedly fucked up.
no anchor.
No anchor.
No anchor. No.
Adrift.
Exactly. UV Vineyard. This is 2011 Pinot. No sulfites added. I think this is a good example of what a 2011 Pinot Noir tastes like. This could taste, I would say, 40 to 60% better had at bottling we added some SO2.
You think this is?
So you really didn't? This is no sulfites added, really?
No sulfites added.
No shit.
And I think this is not good because of that. There is an oxidization that's there.
So it's funny
Now-
because I was thinking here, and
this
I
is
like
me
this.
throwing me on the table.
Are you saying that because you've had different iterations that mentally you're comparing this to?
Yes. Yep.
Because I think if I poured this wine for somebody else and told them it was a 2011, an 8-year-old Pinot, people would actually be very impressed by this wine still.
Oh, it is well made.
It is.
Yeah, it's
But it's
there's a bacony characteristic
there's a
in there.
reductiveness.
It's
to it,
reductive.
which is-
That's that's probably the right
There's a
word for that.
reductiveness to it because of
I shouldn't say that because now people don't want sulfites in the wine. They might get the bacon flavor.
It's not fresh like ketchup.
no, it's but it's not bad. That is what it is. It's just the way that it is.
I think it's delicious. I mean, I really do. I don't.
I did you know I still love this wine a lot. I'm really proud of this wine. UV Vineyard, my dear friend Ulysses Valdez, who passed away 1 year ago on 2 days ago,
2
on
days
the
ago?
12th. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but
1
how?
year,
But here's
like-
the thing: even with the flavor, it's still made. Like it's still there. There's still some fruity characteristics in there. The reductiveness is kind of cool in its own little weird way. Wasn't 2011 not a bad year, but like a cooler, wetter
super cool
year?
year, super wet year. I accidentally crashed a truck during this year, like while picking up my fruit while picking up Thomas George fruit and this and that.
Did you crash it before you picked up the fruit or after you picked up the fruit?
Was T-Boz in the car as well?
No, Jesus, my buddy, he was like directing me so amazingly 8 ways to Sunday of like it took like a good hour and a half to try to get out of this like ditch. T-Boz the sheep. That would have been no. She was already messed up, so she was already. That was so like 2010 was when the accident happened with T-Boz and Chile and
Oh, that was
Peeps.
okay. So that was actually way before that.
Yeah.
I like this. Like this is so to me. The second I drank it, I thought of bacon, but there's a weird characteristic to this that I kind of like. That's unique. I swirled it around my mouth, drank it. I got some Pinot characters, but it holds all the flavor, and this is gonna be weird, to the side of my cheeks, and almost an oily characteristic. But like not like oily. Like I can. It's gonna sound weird. I taste it on the side of my cheeks, like it's all there.
Yeah.
It's full. The oak is not high, which is really refreshing because we had a Pinot. Yeah, Jack's was good, but there was one we had a while ago. We were at Quench, and dude, there was a Pinot Noir tastes like straight up chocolate and coffee because it was 1,000% oak in it, and you're just like, Jesus Christ.
This is cool in the sense of almost going against everything that I talk about now, but it is naturally fermented. But most people do not inoculate anyway. I'm trying to think. 2011. So then once everything had fermented dry, removing all the juice into barrel, and the barrel only was puncheons. So puncheons, which are double-sized barrels, and then so racking naturally into those.
How much of this did you make?
A handful of puncheons. I mean, whatever that is, 350, 450 for 2011. I don't remember at this point.
You had 350 puncheons?
No, 350 cases.
Oh, I was like, damn, that's a warehouse of wine.
If one puncheon is 50 cases,
Yeah,
a
okay.
handful of puncheons.
I'm in my mind, I'm picturing 350 puncheons, and I'm like, dude, that's like a Walmart. Not really, but.
But then, most importantly, the back of the label.
Yeah, is it C pie the C or is it C?
The CP, the C.
Second
There's a
long
second
pause. Go on.
Come on, from Pee Wee Herman. It was Phil Hartman's famous line.
Oh, Phil Hartman was great. I never watched.
The sea.
I never saw Pee Wee Herman.
Different generation.
Different generation.
I don't think he's actually
I
seen
just remember
Caddyshack yet.
or whatever. I haven't seen Caddyshack. I'm sorry. Or Groundhog
One thing you
Day.
guys talked about too on the fermentation episode last time, or the
sulfite episode.
the sulfite episode, was how younger generations are looking at what the labels look like.
Yes.
What I've seen so much has been labels that look like they belong at Mimi's Cafe. like in that like a weird like a dancing fox, like in a
I know what
bon-
you're thinking.
in
The
a
one with the little
bonnet
bear with the
or
tutu,
something.
the
there's
Le
like so
Petit
many things,
Paysan.
but it's like a natural wine thing, and there's like a hen wearing like a bonnet.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the next generation, though. I mean, they
Looks
really
more than what's in it.
they want to have a label that looks like a wine that their parents didn't drink or their grandparents didn't drink.
But it's exactly what the label looks like, what their parents drank or grandparents drank. It looks like Mimi's Cafe, and there's nothing wrong with Mimi's Cafe.
We should make a non-gendered bottle of wine. Instead of having a Bordeaux that's masculine and a Burgundy that's feminine because of the soft shoulders, broad shoulders, just non-gender bottle.
Oh, I got into a fight with someone in Italy about that whole thing because I was calling a wine masculine and feminine once, and she did not want to hear me talk about
masculine and feminine wines.
gender in wines, and it led to an argument, and it led to me not sitting next to her ever again.
Well, next time she says something about, or he or whoever says anything about a flavor, and I'd be like, I take offense to that. I'm allergic to fruits, therefore don't you say fruits. It offends me.
Well, I think of a masculine wine as you think of
Damien,
something
next time he bullies you,
broody.
give him my wife's number.
Come on, you're the one who put him in stitches.
Hence why the small glasses are on the table.
But literally, when I think of like a feminine wine, I think of something beautiful and soft and supple. And when I think of a masculine wine, I think of something that's like broody, that's got strength, that's gonna like kick my ass. And this is not like a he, she, it, them gender. This is
Well, they're going to get offended when you say something about it's a young, clunky wine because it's like a teenager, or it's a young thing because it's clunky, it's not put together, and it hasn't, matured into a thing. Now you're talking about ageism.
But this person was literally like, wine doesn't have gender. I'm like, oh my God. Like, just stop. Just stop right there. But going back to the labels and younger generations, though, it's interesting, these studies, because they're doing these studies, they're interviewing and talking to these people, part of the I generation or the X generation, Z generation, whatever they're calling it, like the people who grew up with iPhones.
Yes.
And they have a little different outlook because they have the whole history of the world in their palm on their phone. It's not like us where we had to be Cliff Clavins and we had to know everything of the world,
Stormtroopers.
Okay, but
Cliff Clavin was a stormtrooper.
Right.
Totally.
So one thing about that, though,
Literally.
is, if this makes any sense, I'm sorry, I don't know that. But the entire Z generation with the phone is fly-by-wire, just scroll, 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 look. So yeah, the only thing that grabs their attention is something gimmicky or a really good meme. So it makes sense for younger people to not see certain labels that have names. Like, honestly, French and Italian labels don't do really well because it's a chateau with the name and it's prestige, and they don't care. They just want a super cool label. Like, honestly, if you took bottles of wine and somehow put a LED in the bottle of wine and it fucking flashed and highlighted, '1 selling wine in America.
It's actually,
hands down.
I want to talk next
Dom
week.
Perignon did it. Dom Perignon's got the light up bottles in the club.
Maybe.
This is something I want to talk to Ian next week about, is the whole French wines in America and how they're being received with the younger generations, because I love Cornas. I see Cornas on a bottle, I get excited. The younger generation doesn't understand that. Actually, most of our generation doesn't understand Cornas.
Cornas should patent a color for Cornas and put that in the bottle. So when people see baby turquoise blue, they go, that's Cornas.
But if you put Syrah on the label, people in America kind of get it. They understand it. Doesn't mean they're going to buy it because Syrah's got,
Yeah.
There's jokes. What is it? What's the difference between like herpes and Syrah?
You can get rid of herpes.
You can actually get rid of herpes because it's actually tough.
Syphilis. Yeah.
Syphilis, yeah.
What's the difference between syphilis and Syrah?
Because it's sometimes tough to sell Syrah in America right now. It's got a.
It is tough.
This
and,
one.
and it's even tougher then when you put the word Cornas on the bottle instead.
Cornas, though, is meant to be sold to people who love Syrah, though.
It's funny. I just zoned out for a second. I was like, oh, yeah, we're just hanging out. Oh, no, shit. Oh, yeah,
We're actually recording.
No, but
That's,
yeah.
that's the point of this whole show, though, is just to have a great conversation with friends,
Yeah.
But
And
I
for
love
people
that joke.
yeah.
What's the difference between syphilis and Syrah?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can sell.
You can actually get rid of syphilis.
Yeah.
Like,
I've had a Syrah on my menu for longer than any other wine I've ever had. It's always because people, I think Syrah is one of the best grapes out there, and you can't move it. You know why? No good marketing on Syrah. None. There's never been there. There's never been a time where everybody stood up. Like, Cab is great. Cab is one of the best grapes, but the reality is marketing of Cab has been beyond amazing.
Could be because of, no, I don't know, man. Like,
That's just my thoughts. Is it's the marketing of Syrah.
But what's been the marketing of? I mean, like we got post World War II, where the French had to come back, and so then there was like, yes, white wine with fish, red wine with beef.
Well, champagne is marketed to be what it is. Yes, champagne
Yeah,
is
but
great, but the marketing is the reason.
Champagne marketed to be celebratory for sure, but then like what? But what more than that though? I don't know. I don't
imagine
see it.
if tomorrow LeBron James comes out and Michael Jordan and Messier and Ronaldo all step out and go, Syrah's the shit. Everybody should drink Syrah. I would guarantee you over a 3-year period, Syrah would be the #1 grape on the planet. And everything would be ripped up and planted with Syrah to catch up because right marketing would get that to go.
Have they ever done that with any other grape, though?
It's always Cabernet.
I'm sorry,
All of
but
them.
the big one for America was obviously the Judgment of Paris, because wasn't all of Napa for the most part just a hodgepodge of
before our
varietals?
generation, though.
But it's solidified Cab in Napa Valley.
But like, let's make it relevant, though.
Also, Rubber Parker, by the way, was a big reason.
So what's you have the baseball player Rich Aurelia. He's got Red Stitch, which is Cabernet Sauvignon.
Rich Aurelia is the shit.
He's awesome.
I love that guy.
Yeah,
I
he's
love
a good
that
dude.
guy.
Yeah.
He's the sweetest dude.
He's awesome.
That's such good to hear.
I just
when you
can't
hear
stand Dave Roberts because I'm a Yankee
He
fan.
had his not wedding, but his the night before party, whatever it was, at Thomas George.
that. Awesome.
My last wine dinner ever with Action Wine and Spirits, we did with Bo McMillan, and we launched the.
Bo's a sweetheart of a dude.
Yeah.
right,
But
well-
we did Mi Sueño wines, and we launched the new vintage of Red Stitch. But Red Stitch, Cabernet Sauvignon. Doubleback, Drew Bledsoe's wine, Cabernet Sauvignon. These guys do Cabernet. You're not seeing some great sports figure or actor or whatever going, man, you got to drink my new Merlot.
Okay, but I've got one. Let me just ask you this. Well, no, actually, that's perfect. Merlot. Merlot took a hit because of a movie. Marketing.
Yeah.
Marketing. It didn't kill Merlot, but it really dipped and Pinot Noir came up. Could you imagine?
No, it did kill Merlot. It literally did
It
kill
almost
Merlot.
killed Merlot in America.
No,
for
it
the most-
did kill Merlot.
And
Yep.
only the good
Not
guys
literally,
survived.
it did kill Merlot.
So let me ask you this. If you think that, like, what's off the top of your head, what's the best Zinfandel out there per region in America?
Opolo.
I grabbed that bottle yesterday. Yeah.
No, this was a joke last night because we were actually.
It was all right. But if you think of, like, my favorite Zin
best Zin?
comes off of mountains or high sites, but the #1 seller of Zin has to be either Paso or Lodi. Has to be.
Seven Deadly or Coppola or.
Yeah. So Lodi Zin. And it's honestly,
Was it-
Lodi Zin's okay.
Michael,
I'm gonna disagree.
Michael David's.
Only because
Michael
of
David.
But it's
Turley.
marketing.
Only 'cause
Turley's in.
But for your average consumer, when they're drinking Zinfandel, it's coming out of Lodi.
And Turley has a
And
name.
that's because of marketing.
Turley has a
I
name.
believe.
They have an allocation. But you know what? The average consumer. We're not the average consumer. We're talking about.
We got to talk about the average.
My
I wouldn't say
family.
it's the average consumer that's drinking it. It's only because it's the price point, though. It's why it's out of Lodi. Because you can get Rock Pile Zinfandel is quintessential Zinfandel in the United States. Like that's the best thing that you can get.
Yeah.
But it's
But everything, even then,
know,
think
$25
about
a
all
bottle
the
more.
regions. All the regions we buy, Brunello, Barolo, Bordeaux, Burgundy, the marketing behind that is the most important. The only thing that's battling that now, in my opinion, is who has the most money to fling in marketing. There's a reason Yellowtail is everywhere. There's a reason Mondavi is what they are because of the marketing aspect. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying what they did for where they're at. They threw so much money into marketing as being the quintessential cab or the quintessential part. Do the Roo for Yellowtail.
I was about to say, Yellowtail did the Super Bowl ads. Their sales went through the roof. It was insane how much they actually went
to
up.
the what?
The roof.
Woof.
To the what?
Through the roof. Well, it's our.
the
It's
what?
excuse me. No. wait, guys, we're wrong. It's Australia. It's through the basement.
Pretty
Downstairs?
Yeah, because you're going down. You know, they're below us. They got to come up. They got to go through their basement to get to us. I'm sorry. It just flew everybody's head.
Oh no, I got it.
So, real quick with Australia, actually, because we're just bouncing around a ton of different subjects. Australia, I just read an article. There's a lot of winemakers right now that are actually getting away from calling it Shiraz. Shiraz
been
is
ruined?
the over-extracted, big, juicy version. There's a lot of people actually making Syrah now in
Bad
Australia.
new marketing.
This is Syrah. This smells like black pepper.
By the way, this Syrah is so weird to me.
Let's
What
talk
it-
about this, Syrah.
I do. I want to talk
we?
about this.
I'm so happy you brought this just because the whole
Can I
Soul
want to
Patch
start on
Syrah,
this. I
like,
want to. This
please.
smells like a soul patch. It smells like lavender candle.
So you smell
This
a lot
is
of. Have you smelled a lot of soul patches in your life?
You see this?
No, I.
YouTubers, this just hangs. It actually, to me, no. Honestly, this wine smells like a lavender candle.
Yes, I get that.
Yeah, right.
This
Lavender
wine
candle.
is like heaven, man.
I haven't even tasted it yet because
Guy Davis.
So who's Guy Davis? Tell us about him, please. I'd love to hear it. I want to hear the story.
Not only like one of the most amazing natural producers in all of Sonoma County, and whatever natural means though, but like because he grows his own grapes, picks his own fruit, makes his own wine.
He ferments spontaneously.
Exactly. But because he knows what he's doing, therefore then.
I mean, that's a hefty
the
bottle,
the
too.
black the pepper's there, by the way. Like it's subtly there, but I'm still like just having a candle.
He's got two amazing sons,
So Davis Family Vineyards.
Cole and Cooper. Cole who is in the cellar, Cooper who helps out in the vineyard and also with marketing, and
I find it really...
Judy Davis, who his wife, who's like the most beautiful redhead you've ever seen in your entire life, who helps with the family. Like, this is the family. Like this.
It's a
this
true
wine.
family winery.
I find it funny that he named his kid Cooper, too, because it's like, oh, you're talking about Cooperages? And yeah.
Cooper Jizz.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But so Davis Family. You don't see the wines around a lot, though. Are they mostly...
Tiny production.
So you have to go visit them to buy their wines, pretty
Yeah,
much.
exactly.
These are not going to be...
Where in the Russian River are they?
Quill carries them in Arizona, but it's like tiny. I mean, like they get whatever.
So if people flew,
six packs of this, 6 packs of that.
so if they flew in, they went to Napa or Sonoma. Where in Sonoma are they?
Russian River Valley, right? The heart of the town of Healdsburg.
Oh, so they're in Healdsburg. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. This is nice. See, I personally
Right across
like.
from Hirsch.
Ooh, nice. See, I like cool climate. I like softer. By the way, the tannin on this is it hits you fast, but it kind of dissolves away nicely.
It's very incense.
It's not aggressive as
It's
shit.
very incensey.
Incensey.
Does that make like Nag Champa kind of like they're like
If-
hippie store like on the nose? It's
I would
kinda got
say if
that-
somebody put this down in front of me, I wouldn't think Syrah. But tasting it reminds me of Syrah. But granted, what is this, 11?
but it's not heavy.
13?
2011.
Yeah.
2011.
It doesn't have that heavy weight that some Syrahs have, where it's like that bacon fat.
But I think Sean said that earlier. He said the cool climate. So think about that. We don't say cool climate cab. We don't say hot climate cab. We say cool climate Syrah versus Syrah. Because everybody knows, like, if you have Shiraz or big Syrah, bacony, jamminess, like, it's just a fat wine, tons of alcohol. I like cool climate Syrah. It's got some, there's one I like called Waxwing, cool climate, 13% alcohol. It's soft, it's easy. Dude, you could drink it with anything. It's fantastic. I like Syrah.
So Last Bottle Wines posted a picture on their Facebook of a bottle from like 1830 that had been opened up that they found in a tomb of somebody. And I'll show you this post.
Wait, somebody posted it.
The last bottle.
1830.
So they uncovered a tomb that had wines in it.
Like
They pulled some bottles out. Last Bottle doesn't have it, but they actually posted a picture of, hey,
I didn't realize cell phones were around then.
it's a
Amazing.
modern
My
day
mind
picture.
is blown right now.
It's a picture today of a wine that was produced 200 years ago. And they said, it probably doesn't taste any good, but how cool is this wine? And my comment goes, well, it probably still tastes better than warm climate Chardonnay.
Yeah.
And their comment back was, shots fired. Because we talk about cool climate and warm climate. I don't think
Yeah.
people necessarily understand that, but
Warm climate Syrah is just miserably terrible.
well, that's also a lot of regions in Australia are warm climate
Yeah.
Shiraz. Cool climate,
Yeah.
a warm climate Chardonnay makes me cringe.
What do you guys think about this Syrah?
I think it's fucking delicious. It makes me want to cuss.
because
I think this would stump a lot of people on Syrah, but when you told them it was Syrah, they'd be like, "Oh, there's a little like," and maybe it's just my nose, maybe it is what it is, but like I'm not getting
This
the
to me,
Syrah-ness out of it.
this to me is when you know the area, and you know, and what you know what you're talking about, then like, yeah, no one's screwing around and doing whatever.
So would you say this is like a real terroir, like Syrah? Oh, that's a weird thing. Terroir.
That is a weird thing
Syrah.
to say.
Hey, terroir, terroir.
It's a terroir.
Syrah.
Hey, terroir,
it was
Syrah.
meant to be. It was.
Well, this is a true wine. So like, and then when you know Guy Davis, Judy Davis, Cole Davis, and his wife, and Cooper Davis and his girl, and now their new kid, like and then and the grandkid Luke, and then all the rest of their grandkids. Like when you know that family, like no, this is the wine. Like this is what it tastes like.
See, I like that he likes that. He knows he likes this wine, not only because he likes the wine, but he knows the family. He just named it after everybody in there. That's how you know you
But it's
like
not.
something.
It's not because I know the family,
But you love the wine enough to constantly go back and get to know these people and appreciate this wine. And know that, by the way, this isn't a mass-produced. It's not machine done. You're like, dude, these guys put their heart and soul into the wine.
The Soul Patch.
Soul Patch Syrah. By the way, they definitely missed out by not having a piece of fuzz on the neck of the bottle.
I just can't believe how like
Guy Davis, you can't even buy his wines. They're all sold out before
Are they
you
really?
get them. Oh yeah.
Oh, good for them. Seriously, though, I hope somebody has a soul patch in that family, because if they're not,
because they're sold out.
Oh, Guy does.
cool, Dustin.
Guy Davis is like the most beautifully striking man. Like he's just like
Is he the Tom Brady of winemaking?
yeah, very much so. He's just like a beautiful man. Like
Great. I'm gonna go to this winery, and he's just gonna have like a sledgehammer on his back, waving with the sun shining behind him. Welcome to my winery. Everybody.
There's just doves flying behind him when he walks in the room.
His
gonna
wife
have an
just
amazing
floats out
wife.
on a cloud with a charcuterie board, and it's just sunbeams shining up.
no, you guys will meet. You guys will meet Guy.
Oh, we'll do it. Yeah.
Yeah, but you will not have a wife like Judy Davis.
Well, I'm not gonna have a wife,
If
so
you
that's
were not,
that
if you were
category.
not Guy Davis. Like, yeah, they're both. And
Guy Davis
will not
is,
have a wife like
is
Judy
the
Davis,
Zeus
so-
of winemaking.
Yeah.
I love it. We should get a painting of that one where it's just some big ass dude in a winemaker, or in their winery.
There's just something so intriguing about this. Like there's
Lavender candle, man. I'm telling you, this smells so good, but it just doesn't come across Syrah to me.
there are few wines out there that make me quiet, and this gets the wheels turning so much as I smell it and I taste it. Really, to me, it's just got that such a deep incense, perfumey nose. I know you're talking about candles and lavender, and it's freaking awesome.
2011 Syrah.
I like that. By the way, thank you for obviously bringing all these, because we did an entire 2011 Pinot and Syrah, and maybe it's because of that vintage, but everything came off soft, real soft.
2011 was a tough vintage in Sonoma County anyway.
It was a great
Was it
vintage
worse
in
in
Europe.
Sonoma?
I mean, in Europe it was great, but that's the thing about some of these vintages. You can't just say you can't generalize anything.
Yeah. Well, it could have been amazing in Santa Barbara and terrible in
And I
Sonoma.
was about to say the other thing is it might be mediocre in Sonoma, but maybe Napa was even better.
We moved to Sonoma County end of 2009, early 2010. I say both because both was true. Yeah, summer of 10, summer of 11 was for sure like super, super ugly. Like Adrian was like, this is not summer.
Was that like an El Nino year?
I'm
not
I
sure.
think it was El Nino, just
Nina.
like, but it just
La Nina?
It rained a lot. That was
living
the
in a
very
house-
first year
yeah,
I made wine.
Living in a house that leaks all the time.
I bet your
that-
goats loved being outside too.
Trying to clean sheep
That are wet.
that are wet.
That doesn't sound
Living
like
in
a fun
house
time.
that leaks, with no washer or dryer and having to go. Like
Just throw the
30
sheep in the
miles
dryer, let it bounce around. It comes out extra
to
fluffy.
Wash your clothes. Yeah, it was. It's a miracle that she's with me.
Good for you. This is so. The Syrah is fantastic. The UV is definitely or what do you call it? No anchor, then no ancora. The UV one is growing on me more. I liked it from the beginning. I like it a little more now. But I think the one thing you nailed, and it reminds me of when we had Jason on Caballero, and he said there's that reductiveness that he knows when he has a Nebbiolo from Italy. That comes across in this, where there's this distinct characteristic on the back end of that, and I like it. I mean, it's only because it's so different, because a lot of California Pinot tastes the same. Like a lot of Russian River Valley stuff tastes the same to me.
I made 100% of this. Picked.
Oh,
It's your buddy.
That's my buddy.
That's okay. You can grab it.
I'll snag it.
So when it comes to
But it should taste that way because it is reductive.
when it comes to aged wines, I expect Syrah to age very, very well. Like old Syrah, like I expect. I've never had a Syrah or Shiraz where I don't think this is going to age for years. I never think of Pinot Noir as being an age-worthy wine.
Yeah.
And first, especially something that has no extra sulfites added, that's aged, I think, beautifully. I know you had this opinion where you're like, it's...
I do believe in wine, in every wine, that, and actually in people as well, and in general, with what we've talked about with amazing friends and amazing people that work in this industry too. Like, it just, the whole thing is...
We all don't age the same.
Well, ironically, it's
No.
all fluid.
Some of us start...
But it's all okay, It's absolutely all okay.
Some of us start, as we get older, start thinking wine has to be spontaneously fermented all of a sudden.
And non-GMO'd and organic and sulfite-free.
I know
But
it's,
it's
I know it's
all
one of those
okay.
topics that bugs you. Like I the other night, you were ready to explode when we were talking about this spontaneous fermentation topic. I mean, I could see it in your eyes.
I know, and I did explode a little bit, but it's just, what is it? It's more importantly, we only need to express love to one another. Like, in
That's wine. Wine's fun in a bottle.
Damien, having love for you.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm gonna cry.
No, come on, man.
Totally.
It's all good.
I'm.
But it is like
We've talked about it. I mean, you're one of the first people ever to buy wine from me, but over the years, we've become very good friends.
exactly.
And
but
this is just the
Jonathan-
start of it.
Everybody who listens to our podcast,
Jonathan, even though the weird crop top
oh, right here,
that you're wearing,
yeah,
and then well, actually, no, we're on camera now, so people don't know.
they don't see it. They can't see the Ray Lewis 1998 style crop top going down. Everybody who's in our industry, who meets everybody, always came from a friend of a friend of a friend. Everything. I met you through Damien. I made a lot of friends through certain distributors, and everybody becomes really cool friends because the one thing about our industry is, in the end, this is the product, but the product brings us all together. And that's what's fun. And then, so when somebody attacks that product, whether it's with the sulfite things, with the spontaneous fermentation, with the eventually what will be sustainability and organic, at some point there's going to be wineries that don't have that certification and people are going to attack them. It's up to us to stand there and defend it and say, no, this isn't true. Sulfites don't give you headaches or head air. Spontaneous fermentation it's not a thing. It is a thing, but it's not what you think it is. Don't go after the non-organic, because as a winemaker, or excuse me, as a grape grower, they're trying their best to do everything they can to be organic. It doesn't mean they will be, or sustainable. It's up to us in the selling industry and the distribution and the representatives to defend these guys, because the product will speak for themselves in the end. Ulysses makes fantastic wines, and his name will have a legacy for a long time because of how well he did it. So we have to stand there and say, forget the sulfites, forget the organic. The product that you are having is good. It's healthy, for the most part. And it's fun because in the end, you drank that bottle with your best friends and you became better friends because you had it. And now you've got 10 more friends that you met along the way. And that's where we have to come in and do a better job in the wine industry to make people drink better wines, to drink this Prosecco for $15, by the way, which is fantastic.
Killer bottle of wine.
It's one of the best things we've drank.
Well, and yes,
It's the mama bear mentality. These are our children, and we are very protective of it.
I like that,
We
the
are,
mama bear
That's
mentality.
really what it is. And I know a lot of women that are like, I'm mama bear. Like, you don't fuck with my kids. And that's how we take this,
It
I'm
is.
the same
It's
way.
art. It is an art. It's a really douchey thing to say, but it's kind of arty.
but that's the same
And
way
it's
that
our product.
That's the same way that I feel with all of my friends and all my brothers and all my sisters across the planet who are misinformed on sulfite levels, on this or that, or oxygen levels, or don't understand the full picture. That's exactly what it is. I feel like a mama bear.
That's it.
I think that's perfect.
Thank you for mentioning Ulysses, because we lost him 1 year ago, 2 days ago.
The wine industry,
That's a big hit.
legend.
Yeah.
An absolute legend.
Is not the same because of it.
Yeah, and that is the way that it is. A true player and the game of the true players.
But that's another thing.
I love you guys.
Love you, brother. I think that right there is the perfect way to bow out for the night. Everybody, I love you guys a lot. I'm so glad we do this more and more. The wines we drink are fun. The people that watch and listen to us, we love you guys. It's the industry that we're in, and it's just educating and bringing more people to the table every single time.
And the great thing about something like Ulysses Valdez, his legacy lives in these bottles. And every time you pop a cork, it's almost like he's drinking with you. And
30
that's what's
30 years
so
later, 10
awesome
years
about
later,
it. Like, doesn't matter. If you pop a bottle of one of his wines in 20 years, he's sitting at that table drinking with you. And that's fucking what makes this whole thing special.
Yeah.
Love it. Any final thoughts for that?
Be good. If you can't be good, be bad.
Totally.
I like that.
Done.
Be good if you can't be bad. Thanks everybody for watching. We love you guys.
Cheers.
You're
Sean.
part of the family.
Sean, thank you for sharing
Sean,
some
thanks for
awesome
coming,
bottles
buddy.
with us tonight.
Damien.
Cheers,
I always love
Really
this, guys.
appreciate it.
Bye, guys. Love you.
Cheers.